if you want to quit your 9 to 5 and start an AI agency, copy my exact steps right here. So right now you're currently in your 9 to 5 job. And in order to plan out how we can move from working for someone else to working for yourself, we have to look at the amount of time that is being spent on our new endeavor, right? And so a lot of people think, hey, I can just continue working for someone and I'll just do this on the side. But to be honest, let's take a look at on how that would actually pan out. Here at your 9 to 5 job, let's break down your day in terms of 24 hours, right? You have 8 hours where you're physically there and you can't clock out, right? You're 8 hours physically in the office. Maybe you work from home, but you have to be on call basically for 8 hours, right? For most people, you have to, especially if you go to the office, you have to commute to work, right? So aside from just commuting to work, there's traffic, you stop to get gas, or your daily commute, including going to the gym or go to the groceries after, you're looking at around 2 hours to and from. Or you drive to the gym, your daily commute is 2 hours. Then of course you're gonna eat, right? For most people, you guys eat, 3 meals per day, right? So you spend around 2 hours eating, morning, lunch, afternoon. You definitely take an hour around lunchtime while you're there. So you're spending 2 hours eating, and I hope you're spending an hour in the gym. So realistically, if we're saying that we're awake for 16 hours a day and we're sleeping for 8 hours, you'll realistically only have 3 hours for your side hustle, which is to work on your AI agency. And to be honest, 3 hours isn't very significant, right? Especially in the latter part of the day, where if you're working with clients that where you need to call them to close on sales calls, by the time you get home and the 3 hours that you have, it's 5 p.m. and onwards. It's really not ideal at all. And so when you look at the amount of time that you would have if you were unemployed, let's take a look, right? Well, if you're unemployed, you have 0 hours of office work. You don't need to be anywhere. You can be at home, right? And you pretty much will have a 30-minute commute. Pretty much the only place that you need to be going is going to the gym, right? You have a 30-minute commute. And what I advise is stop eating 3 times per day, do 1 meal a day. Eat 1 meal per day, right? Spend 30 minutes eating instead of 2 hours, right? And then do 1 hour gym. So obviously I'm counting the 30-minute commute for the gym. And so what you're left with is 14 hours to work on your AI agency, right? So before you had 3 hours and then you have 14 hours, you nearly have 5 times as much time to do all this work. And I'm also not accounting that you have to look at throughout the day, not all hours are the same. People are the most focused in the morning. So the 3 hours that you get left from, working, commuting, the hours in your day have diminishing returns, right? Before noon, you're probably the most focused. After you have a meal, you have like a food coma, and you're probably operating at like 60-70%. So we're not even accounting for the fact that while you do have 3 hours, those are not 3 hours at maximum capacity, right? The 3 hours that you have between 9 a.m. and 12 p.m. are not the same 3 hours that you have, between 5 and 8 p.m. Right? And obviously that's going to vary for different people, but no one operates at 100% capacity per day, right? Obviously there's things you can do. You can dial on caffeine, you can fast, right? Which is why I stress having 1 meal per day. But if you want to get to your goals faster, you need more time, and not just any time, focused time, where you can spend the correct amount of time and energy into the things that you're working on. So instead of just having 5 times as much time, you're also going to have more energy, more time. You're going to gain back the time in the morning where most people are the most focused, right? So in reality, it's not just 5x more time. It's not just getting to your goals 5x faster. You also have to account for the energy, right? The percentage of focus that you're going to have for each hour. And so I strongly advise that all of you, burn the boats, right? In the art of war, or you look at ancient history where, soldiers, generals put their soldiers in a position of, you have to succeed, right? They either burn the boats, or there's no way to return home, or they fight behind a river. Because if you have an army, you can't really retreat into the river. You're gonna get washed down the river as you keep your troops there to fight till the end, right? Same thing on D-Day. What they did is we won World War II because of D-Day, right? We put the soldiers in a position to win. And the same goes with anything that you want to do in life. You can't half-ass it, right? And so what I mean by this, we obviously have to be reasonable, because working on your AI agency is not a zero-cost endeavor, right? While it's not like dropshipping where you need inventory, I would strongly advise you to have some sort of savings. Realistically, 6 months between 20, 30 grand. You can have less. I would say probably 10 grand for 3 months, right? So in the first 3 months, you make enough money to fund the rest 3 months. But if you're a super conservative individual, I would say 20, 30 grand. Right? Realistically, I think, to plan out 3 months, have at least 10 grand, right? And so from this, you're giving yourself 6 months, 3 to 6 months to say, hey, I'm going to spend as many waking hours as I can on building my business until I can finally say I've given my all, right? But, really don't hope that you quit. So within this time, from this money, you're gonna spend $1,500 per month on paid ads minimum, right? If you want to have your goal to speak to around 5 individuals per day on the weekdays, to reasonably get to your first client within 30 days or less, you want to be spending $1,500 per month minimum on ads, right? You're spending 14 hours per day for around 4 months, right? From here, you should be able to, 14 hours per day for 6 months, you should be able to close your first client within 1 month, and within 3 months, hire out your first team member so you can start reclaiming time. Right? The moment you have at least $10,000, you made $10,000 from the business, or even $5,000, you should start spending that money to buy back your time so that you can focus on what's necessary, right? Right now you're probably trading your time for money, but what you're going to do later on is you're going to trade money for time, right? So we're going to reverse the entire process, and I strongly suggest that the only way to do this as fast as humanly possible is to quit your job and go all in.